Go ahead.
I became a landscape architect because previous to landscape architecture, I'd been in a scientific program, and after chopping up a leaf for the thousandth time, I realized that I was kind of bored with the actual on-the-street aspect of science. All the philosophy and everything was great, but it didn't necessarily appeal to a creative side. So for me, the Masters in Landscape Architecture was a beautiful way to combine ecology and environmental aspects with the creative aspects as well. So as a profession, for being so broad, appealing to people with short attention spans, and having an aspect of creativity in what they like to do, it's a perfect synthesis of so many different things, and it provides you an opportunity to continue to grow in your profession, change as you move along, become an expert in something if you wish, or just remain that jack of all trades that might be a master of a few.
I started out going to university in interior design, and while I was there, I started looking around a little bit. It wasn't quite what I was looking for, and I was introduced to landscape architecture and made the move to landscape architecture because it was a much broader field. It dealt with people and exterior places as well as some interior. There's a connection between the interior and the exterior that was important to me. And also you looked at more of the sustainability aspects and what people needed and where we needed to go with exterior spaces, and that's what intrigued me.
Okay, so why did I become a landscape architect? I started off with an interest in built form and buildings and thought I was going to become an architect. As I started to explore that, I found my sensitivities led more to the way one object related to another object and the way spaces fit together, and that really led me to an exploration of the landscape. And to me, landscape architecture is about moderating a conversation that happens between people and uses on the land and the land itself.
I became a landscape architect because I love the idea of transforming the world one garden at a time or one landscape at a time. I get up every morning knowing that I can renovate landscapes, transform landscapes, make people's lives better because they can recreate and they can meet with their families and they can engage in a number of activities in parks and in places of civic prominence.
I became a landscape architect because I really enjoyed creating spaces. At one point I thought I was going to design towns, being a town planner, designing buildings, being an architect, but after studying both professions as an option and enjoying being outside as much as I do, being a landscape architect has put all of that together. To create spaces, to create enjoyment for everybody is absolutely the dynamic of this profession, and it is the right thing to be doing it. Okay.
I had an idea of if I was a landscape architect, and not only would I have this setting to stand in, but I'd have a car like that to drive.
Oui, j'ai voulu être architecte paysagiste parce que c'est un heureux mélange de plusieurs disciplines comme l'horticulture, l'environnement, les arts, la culture. C'est avant tout d'aider la société puis d'appliquer nos capacités d'analyse, de résoudre des problèmes. C'est toutes des choses qui m'intéressaient beaucoup, puis c'est une heureuse combinaison qui me plaît encore après presque 30 ans de pratique.
Well, I became a landscape architect because I have an interest in botany. I have a botany degree, and I started doing some graphic design work and found this crazy profession that kind of blended the two, design and the botanical side, and so I get to design places that people enjoy, and it's no turning back now.
I became a landscape architect originally by accident because I didn't know too much. I didn't even know that the profession exists. But once I stumbled upon it, I found out that it's very challenging. Every project is like a big puzzle you have to solve, and I love challenges. And these are super-sized, fascinating puzzles that I have to solve every single time. And I just find it absolutely fascinating to do that.
It was by chance, actually. I was studying to be an architect and discovered that I didn't really care for architecture and had the opportunity to go into landscape architecture. And so by chance, I ended up in landscape architecture. It was actually the best decision I've ever made. I love being a landscape architect. I get to be a generalist and deal with all sorts of different people and think about how people use cities and space and different things like that. And it's I look back on that chance decision, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life.
I became a landscape architect because I love the land, I love art. It was an opportunity to pursue a career that you could combine both of those. And I hate formula, and the notion of landscape architecture projects is that, you know, every project is different, every solution is different. It's a real challenge. You get to have some rigor in it, understanding different landscapes, their ecology, human behavior, and then you get to overlay just beautiful things. Visual analysis, form, line, color, texture. It's one of the best professions anyone could go into.
I became a landscape architect through garden design. That's where I started out. And as I got involved in garden design, I felt I needed something more meaningful for myself. So I took the MLA at Guelph. And through that, I have found myself practicing with Aboriginal communities in the Arctic. And it's very meaningful work because you can actually make a difference when you work hand in hand with the community. You're able to support them to achieve their goals and their development needs, and it may take a long time, but you work and develop relationships with these people through the planning, through the implementation, and you get to see them celebrate these spaces and share them with visitors, and I find it really rewarding. So that's why I'm a landscape architect.